Welcome back. The Senate passed President Trump's big, beautiful bill yesterday after Vice President J.D. Vance had to cast a tie-breaking vote. The House will get this bill in less than an hour. The full House, a vote could happen anytime after that. So expect a vote today, teeing it up to be signed into law before the July 4th holiday by President Trump. Joining me now is the Marks Group CEO, Gene Marks. Gene, great to see you. And you cater to small businesses. I want to get your take on this. You say this legislation is going to be a big win for small business owners, especially those who are investing and expanding right now. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so Maria, you were talking earlier, in this program about growth and how the president wants to be funding growth. And, the big winners, I think, of this big, beautiful bill are small businesses. And there's a big reason why. I mean, there are certain tax provisions in this bill, investing in capital equipment, spending on research and development, the big deduction for, pass-through businesses, as well as even estate plans. They've increased the exemption for estate taxes. The key thing about all this stuff, which I don't think people are talking about enough, Maria, is they've all been made permanent. Like in the 30 years that I've been a practicing certified public accountant, all of these things have just been extended every few years. And then it's a debate and it goes back and forth. Well, these things are permanent now, which means that small businesses can make long-term decisions about investing in their businesses and selling their businesses or passing it on to new generations, knowing that the laws aren't going to change because of that. I think that's going to have an enormous impact on the growth of businesses in this country.
And Gene, you would know your firm specializes in CRM, cloud, accounting, and sales and marketing software. What are you hearing from those small business owners today? Are they poised to invest in America? Are they poised to hire people? How are they feeling about the current policies out of the Trump administration?
It's funny that you say that. The sentiment is actually pretty resilient, and it's not just our 600 clients that I'm hearing from. I mean, there's a number of surveys that go around that have been asking small businesses how they feel. Two that I can point out, Maria. I mean, one, Paychex, is the big HR platform. They do every month. It's called the Small Business Employment Watch. They have 750,000 customers. These are small businesses. Their hiring has remained steady throughout 2025. And the National Federation of Independent Businesses as well. So, small business sentiment and confidence ticked up last month and is still at levels that are higher than they were back during the Biden administration. So even with all of these things about tariffs and inflation and higher interest rates and all of that, what I'm seeing, not only in studies, but with my own, client base is the business owners are pretty resilient. And they've been kind of waiting for legislation like this big, beautiful bill so they can start spending some money and making investments,
Well, maybe, but look at the numbers we just got, Gene. I mean, we just got the jobs data by ADP, and it was actually a decline in jobs, 33,000 lost jobs versus an expectation of an increase in jobs of 95,000. You also had Challenger and Christmas saying that we are talking about the first half of 2025 job cuts, the most since the first half of 2020. So what is your expectations on the second half when it comes to jobs?
First of all, let me point this out. The ADP analysis takes into account all jobs, right? So we're talking about government cutbacks, which some of them are the result.
Good point, yeah.
Yeah, the result of DOGE, as well as healthcare and other industries that might be cutting back because they're getting less government funding, debatable or not. The Paychex report that I mentioned earlier, that's specifically small businesses, and let's not forget, Maria, small businesses in this country, there's 30 million of them. They make up half of the GDP. They employ half of the people in this country. Those are the people that I follow. Their hiring has remained strong. And I am very confident that they're going to continue to hire as the year goes on.
Well, markets are shifting. We are looking at a mixed opening now, about an hour away from the opening bell. The Dow is up, but the NASDAQ and the S&P have turned negative after the ADP data. I want to get your take on what next week looks like, Gene, because the July 9th tariff deadline is approaching. And what that means, I spoke with President Trump about what he's going to do in terms of the exemption, and as well as whether or not he's going to extend that pause on the tariffs. It didn't sound like he's going to extend any tariff extension. In fact, he basically said, no, we're going to write a letter to all these countries and say, this is what you're paying. Here's what he told me about that. Watch this.
I'm going to send letters. That's the end of the trade deal. I could send one to Japan. Dear Mr. Japan, here's the story. You're going to pay a 25% tariff on your cars, So we give Japan no cars. They won't take our cars, right? And yet we take millions and millions of their cars into the United States. It's not fair. And I explained that to Japan, and they understand it. And we have a big deficit with Japan, and they understand that too.
There you go, Gene. Dear Mr. Japan, this is...
It's pretty funny, actually.
Cracks me up. Cracks me up. So what about that? Are you expecting these tariffs to be an issue?
First of all, what drives me nuts is how people are writing about how the businesses, small businesses themselves are suffering under tariffs. I mean, Maria, you've been covering this guy for years. Is this any different than what President Trump was talking about during the campaign or what he specifically announced after he was elected? And I have countless clients, smart people running businesses that read the writing on the wall, understood what he was going to do, listened to him, and they made their moves. They've already been navigating their way around. And if I can just give one piece of advice to your viewers, Maria, I mean, I am seeing this explosion in interest in bonded warehouses. So, for example, a lot of small businesses, rather than paying tariffs, they're receiving their inventory into a bonded warehouse in a free trade zone. There are many of them around the country. They defer their tariffs that way. They can wait until these things get negotiated and work their way out and then pay lower tariffs in the end. That's just like one of 10 examples I can give you of how the resilient business owners are navigating their way around this stuff. And they will navigate.
And we should point out that countries are navigating as well.
Yep.
This week, we saw Canada give up its digital sales tax.
Right.
President Trump completely stopped talking to Canada on any trade deal until the digital sales tax was given up, and that's exactly what Canada did. We are expecting a framework of a deal with Canada by July 21st. So we'll see about that, but this is all right now in the hopper. Gene, great to see you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Maria.
Gene
Take
Marks
care.
joining us on the impact of the big, beautiful bill on small business.